Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nurture and Also. I'm Bumi, a first time mom, a wife, and most especially a girl. Finding her rhythm in the middle of motherhood, work, and everything in between. Today's episode is an emotional one for me. I've actually thought whether I should record this episode at all. And I think part of me knew that once I started talking about it, it was going to bring back everything. But I also think that's exactly why I need to talk about it. Because it's been a little over a year since my dad passed away. And even saying that still feels unreal to me. A year. One whole year. And sometimes I still catch myself thinking that I could pick up my phone and call him. I could hear his voice. I could hear him call me his babe. I could hear him say I love you. And then I remember he's gone. And I think this episode is about grief, but it's also about something else. It's about living abroad. It's about what happens when you're building a life far from home. Because we talk so much about the opportunities that comes with moving abroad. We talk about the better life, the job, money, exposure, the opportunities for our children. And not to downplay the importance of these things, but there are also the costs that nobody really talks about. And one of those costs is distance. Because sometimes while you're busy building a life somewhere else, life is happening back at home and you don't get to be there. You miss the weddings, you miss the births, you miss the birthdays, and sometimes you miss the final goodbyes. My dad and I were very, very close. I was his baby girl and we spoke all the time, literally all the time. A week would not go by without us talking. We spoke so regularly that talking to him was just a part of my normal life. And one thing about my dad I would always remember is that we never ended a phone call without him telling me that he loved me. Never. I love you. That was how our calls ended. And at that time, it was just normal. It was just dad. But now, those ordinary moments are some of the things I miss the most about him. I miss his voice. I miss him calling me his babe. I miss knowing that I could pick up my phone and call my dad. I miss being his baby girl. And then there's this part of his death that I still struggle with. He didn't tell me he was sick, and that really, really hurt me. Because we spoke so much. I remember that particular week, my mind was just, onto him. I kept calling him, checking up on him. And then one day he just told me that he was at the hospital. I remember I asked him, when did you go to the hospital? Because how are we talking all the time and you didn't tell me you were at the hospital? I remember feeling so many things at once. I was scared. I was confused. But I was also hurt. Because why didn't he tell me? Why did he hide it from me? He knew how much I loved him. He knew I would worry. He knew I would want to help. And that's one of the hardest things about grief. It's the questions that don't have answer anymore. I was angry. And I'm okay saying that now because I don't think being angry means I didn't love him. Actually, I think it shows how much I loved him. I was angry because I wanted him to leave. I wanted him to get better. I wanted him to recover so badly that I wanted him to stay long enough for me to be angry with him. I wanted to tell him, Daddy, why did you do this? Why didn't you tell me? Why would you hide this from me? Why would you carry all of this by yourself? I wanted that conversation. I wanted to have that argument. Because an argument with my dad would have meant that my dad was still here. And I would have taken that argument. I would have taken that anger. I would have taken anything if it meant I still had him. I kept thinking if he had told me earlier, maybe things would have ended differently. Maybe we would have tried harder. And that is the dangerous thing about grief. The what ifs. What if I had gone home? What if I had known? What if I had pushed harder? What if he had told me? Maybe he would have still been alive. I don't know. I guess I would never know. And maybe that's something I've learned to accept. Maybe it was fate. Maybe things happened that none of us could control. I don't know. But it still hurt. It hurt so deep. Or maybe he thought I could not handle it. Maybe he thought he could handle it. And maybe he didn't want me to worry. Just maybe. I guess all I have now is maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is that his decision not to tell me hurt me deeply. I was at work when my sister called me and she told me my dad had died. I don't know what I was feeling in that moment. I felt the whole world paused around me. I don't think I will ever forget that moment, ever. Because one phone call can completely divide your life into two parts. Before that phone call and after that phone call. I was at work 1 minute and then suddenly my dad was gone. And this is where I think about the also part of nurture and also. Because the world does not stop when you lose somebody. My world stopped, but the world around me didn't. I still had to go home. I still had responsibilities. And 3 days later, I had to go back to work. 3 days. And I remember thinking, how? How am I supposed to go back to work? My dad had just died. How is everybody carrying on? How is the world still moving? How am I supposed to just wake up, get dressed, and go to work? But that's the reality sometimes, especially when you're living abroad. You don't always have the luxury of stopping. You still have bills to pay, you still have work to do, you still have responsibilities. I still have a child who needs me. Life does not stop because I was grieving. I remember leaving work that day after my sister had called me. It was raining on the way home. I was numb the entire way. When I got off the bus, it was still raining and I just started walking. I was walking in that rain and honestly, I don't even remember thinking about where I was going. My body was just moving. I was there physically, but mentally, I was gone. I was just walking. Thankfully, my husband was waiting outside. He came to meet me and immediately I saw him, I broke. I completely broke because he knew how much I loved my dad. He knew how much my dad loved me. And I'm actually grateful that my husband got to experience my dad while he was alive. I got to see their relationship. And I think that means more to me now. Because there are some people in my life who knew my dad only through my memories. But my husband actually knew him. He saw the love, he saw the relationship we had. And when he heard me that day, I didn't have to explain anything. He just knew. And this is where the nurture part of nurture and also comes in for me. Because even while I was grieving my dad, I was still a mom. I still had a little person who needed me. I still had my home, my marriage, my responsibility. And I think motherhood teaches you something about grief that you don't realize until you experience it. You can be completely broken inside and still have to get up because somebody needs to suck your breast. Somebody needs you. Somebody needs your attention. Somebody needs their mommy. And you're nurturing somebody else while desperately needing somebody to nurture you. That's something I don't think we talk about enough. And then there was the hardest part. I couldn't travel home. I couldn't attend my daddy's burial. I couldn't physically be there for my siblings and my family. I couldn't stand there and say goodbye. And that is one of the things I think And that's one of the things I think about when I talk about the cost of living abroad. Because sometimes the life you're building comes with moments you miss. And some moments you can never get them back. You don't get another opportunity to attend your dad's funeral. You don't get another opportunity to hold his hand. You don't get another opportunity to hear his voice. You don't get another opportunity to say, Daddy, I love you. And that is hard. My sister showed me his body at the morgue. And he looked peaceful. He honestly looked like he was sleeping. And I think that's part of why it was so difficult for my mind to understand that he was gone. Because he looked like my dad. He looked peaceful. And my mind could not connect that image with the fact that I would never hear his voice again. I would never receive another phone call. I would never hear him call me my babe. I would never hear him say I love you again. And even now, 1 year later, sometimes it still doesn't feel real. That's the strange thing about grief. Time passes, people think you're supposed to be okay, but grief is not necessarily about forgetting. I think living abroad can make grief feel even more complicated because you're grieving from a distance, you're watching your family go through it from far away. You can't just go to the cemetery where you want to. You can't just have those ordinary moments. And sometimes you realize, I built this life so far away from home, and now I'm experiencing the hardest moment of my life far away from home too. And that's something I wish people talk about more. Because moving abroad isn't only about what you're gaining. Sometimes you are also accepting what you might miss. I think that's what nurture and also means to me even more now. Because it also isn't just about working hard. It's about building. It's about surviving. It's about creating a life. It's about doing what you have to do. But we are human beings. We are not machines. Sometimes we are hustling with a broken heart. Sometimes you are nurturing your child while you're grieving your own parent. Sometimes you're showing up for everybody else while you're desperately trying to hold yourself together. And maybe the real balance isn't having everything figured out. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to be human while you're doing all of that. Losing my dad has changed the way I think about time. It made me realize that some of the things we consider ordinary are actually the things we will miss the most. A phone call, a voice, a random conversation, somebody calling you by name only they call you, a parent telling you, I love you. At the time, you don't think about those things. They are just normal. Until one day, they aren't there anymore. So if you're listening to this and your parents are still alive, call them, check on them, ask them how they are doing. Tell them you love them. Don't assume there will always be another phone call, because sometimes there isn't. And if you're listening to this, you've lost somebody already, especially if you lost them while you're abroad. I want you to know that your grief is valid. If you're angry, that's okay. If you're sad, that's okay. If you feel guilty, that's okay too. If you didn't get to say goodbye, that's okay. You didn't love them any less because you weren't there physically. Distance does not cancel love. And Daddy, if I could have one more conversation with you, I think I will still be angry. I will still ask you why you didn't tell me. I would probably cry. You probably call me your babe, and I will tell you how much I love you. And maybe that's what I have to hold on to. That we loved each other. That I was your baby girl. That you never ended a call without telling me you loved me. And I got to experience what it feels like to be deeply loved by my father. For that, I will always be grateful. I miss you, Daddy. I miss you more than I can explain. And I don't think 1 year changes that. I think I just learned how to carry the missing, and maybe that's what this episode is really about. Not just death, not just grief, but love. Because we only grieve this deeply because we loved this deeply. And maybe sometimes the hardest part of building a life abroad isn't the work. It isn't the money. It's not even starting over. It's knowing that while you're building your life, you might not always be there for the people you love. And that's a cost we don't talk about enough. This is nurture and hustle. And if you're somewhere far away from home, building your life, raising your children, working, surviving, grieving, or simply trying to keep going, I see you. You are not alone. And thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.